we're going to talk about diabetes. Over 76,000 people in America die from diabetes every year. And before they die, some of them suffer horribly. You may have diabetes yourself. You know what I'm talking about. There's two basic types of diabetes. Some say there's actually three types. There's type 1, used to be called juvenile onset diabetes. It used to happen in young people. It was because their pancreas would just basically shut down, not produce enough insulin. Insulin is what moves the blood sugar, the glucose, across from the blood, across the cell membrane into the cells. And thank God for the development of insulin, because that keeps a lot of people alive that have that. The type 2 diabetes, or what used to be called adult onset diabetes, usually was a result of a diet consuming too much refined carbohydrates. Many times these people have a weight problem too, and that comes from basically just burning out the pancreas from too much activity. And so we end up with insulin receptor insensitivity and the progression of the disease. Some researchers now classify Alzheimer's as the third type of diabetes because there's such a high correlation between adult onset diabetes and the development of Alzheimer's and other neurodegenerative diseases. Now, there are some specific DNA tests for mutations that we use to pinpoint the likelihood or probability of developing particularly adult onset diabetes, and then you could do something about it if you knew you had this, a tendency for it, to prevent it. That's right, I think it could be prevented. We use APOR and ADCY5 single nuclear polymorphism markers. These are involved in insulin receptor sensitivity or insensitivity. Specific recommendations to correct this would be a low carbohydrate diet. Most cases of adult onset diabetes, and therefore even Alzheimer's in my opinion, are definitely contributed to or caused by excessive consumption of refined carbohydrates. This causes a spike in triglycerides. The triglycerides oxidize and cause damage throughout the brain and the body, resulting in diabetes. Also, interval exercise seems to lower blood sugar better and even bring down triglycerides better than aerobic type exercises. Specific customized nutritional supplements would include chromium picolinate, which enhances insulin receptor sensitivity. It's called glucose tolerance factor sometimes. Gimini sylvestre has a similar effect. Green tea. Vanadyl sulfate, which it mimics in effect insulin molecule activity. So does cinnamon. EPA and DHA, this is to suppress excessive oxidation of the triglycerides and production of triglycerides in the bloodstream. Vitamin C is kind of a universal antioxidant. Follow-up tests include insulin and A1C, which is methylated hemoglobin, measures the amount of sugar activity, blood sugar activity over the last 90 days, and triglycerides, which are blood fats. There's a reason why we see a spike in diabetes today, because Americans run much higher triglycerides levels than we used to run because we consume much more carbohydrates than we used to consume. I hope that helps you. I want you to know that there's things you can do. If you have these genetic markers, there's things you can do to stop this disease from expressing itself. You don't have to suffer.
Change the course of your life forever. Contact DNA Life Extension now, before it's too late.